All right, hello, welcome to CCWH's chapel for this evening. I am Reverend Kelly Wilk, a minister here at CCWH, and tonight I am talking about angels, and our title for our program today is Angels Are Ever With Us, which is so true. So here at CCWH, we are a non-denominational spiritual fellowship, and we're going to begin with this opening prayer. And this beautiful prayer is voiced by our dear Mary Huber, helping me out tonight, who is also the pastor at CCWH. Let us pray.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
It's a beautiful prayer. Thank you, Mary. So, in order to get all of our energies aligned here tonight, we're going to begin with some CCWH affirmations. These were channeled by CCWH's founder, the Reverend Michelle Luson. And she founded CCWH, I believe, in 1977. She was a mystic and a channel. She brought in a lot of powerful information. And then she also created the Community Chapel for Holistic Healing. All right, so tonight we begin with these affirmations. The faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. The hope affirmation. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity, I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. And the charity affirmation. In understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Now we're going to have a short meditation to open this chapel, to bring in some angelic connection and guidance. Like, we'll begin by settling ourselves, taking some deep breaths in and out, aligning our spines as much as possible, and bringing ourselves to a place of peace and relaxation. Continuing to take deep and steady breaths. We bring our awareness to our center. From there, we send out a great spiraling of energy down through the lower portion of our bodies, spiraling a beautiful golden spiral of light going down our bodies and into the earth. This energy anchors us firmly in the earth energies, settling us here, grounding us, connecting us to the earth's immense power, might, and its own special earth light. As we further connect to the earth, we feel ourselves supremely supported. We are meant to be here. We belong on this planet, and we are offered the great support of the earth. Now we check our bodies, physical and energy, looking for anything that feels heavy, misplaced, unnecessary. And we just let that go. We comb it out. We release it down this grounding cord and into the earth. We keep going down our energy bodies, checking for anything that feels like it's a bit snagged or shadowed or murky, and clearing it out. Once we feel clearer and lighter, we bring ourselves back to our center. Now we reach upward in a great spiral of silvery light, going through the upper portion of our bodies. As light travels upwards out of the crown of our heads, it goes through the sky and clouds beyond the moon and stars to the highest light we can access, creator light, source light, the light of the all that is. We feel our connection to this great light. We know we can access it always. This light powerfully shines down on us, bringing us energies of love, of peace, of grace and goodwill. We are inundated with this light. We take in some excess light and wrap it around us like a great cloak, knowing that now we are grounded and cleared. We are connected and protected. From this place of spiritual strength, we enter our sacred space of meditation. And tonight, we're going to ask for angelic presence here with us. You may at this time see or visualize an angelic form. It may appear like a traditional angel in white robes with great feathery wings. Perhaps you see sparkles of light or colors or something else entirely. But whatever it is, most of all, we feel the connection to heaven's light, heaven's grace and peace, and the great supporting presence of the angels. We feel their presence drawing closer now. Perhaps they clasp your hand or put a comforting hand on your shoulder. We may feel embraced by wings. Perhaps we feel primarily a sensation of love, but we know the angels are here. They're close. They're offering us guidance, support, and love from the highest realms of light, the angelic realms. Now that we feel the angelic presence, we'll spend a few moments in silence, listening to our own angel messages, our own angel guidance, or perhaps just reveling in this feeling of being loved and embraced by heaven. We give thanks for this angelic guidance we have received, for the angels being with us this evening. Thank you. Taking deep breaths, we begin returning back to a more awake state, knowing that the angels are present with us through this talk and beyond. So tonight, I am talking about angels, and I'd like to begin with a rather broad definition of what angels are. And angels are messengers between God and man. That's a very common sort of definition, and I think, though simple, a very accurate one. So we have our world here on earth, which we all know very well, and everything in our world. And there's also a spirit world, and that's very similar in many ways to the earthly realm. Um, but there are some different rules, some different life forms that abide there. You know, on Earth, we have animals, plants, minerals, all these life forms. And the spirit realm has these too. Now, angels are entirely spirit, right? They have no physical form, they have never been people. There are a few instances where angels have very temporarily come to earth with a physical form to deliver some message, but in general, angels are not incarnated beings here on earth. They're just different entities entirely. Occasionally, you'll hear somebody say, oh, my dear Grandma May is my angel watching over me from heaven. Um, Now, I completely believe we have deceased loved ones, we have ancestors helping us out, watching over us, guiding and supporting us from the other side. But, strictly speaking, that is a different from an angel. Um, so tonight I'm thinking of this sort of separate class of spiritual beings from the light that are angels, that are a bit different from deceased loved ones or uh, ancestors or spirit guides. So, angels come from the highest realms of light. In this realm, the will of God is known, it's understood, it's carried out always. So, right there, we can tell it's very different from what we have here on earth, right? Though spiritual, angels really do have the utmost compassion for us here on earth. I mean, they have great sympathy and appreciation for our struggles. We're trying to live in a physical body. We also have spiritual components. They understand that we're attempting to bridge the spiritual and the physical. So when we're accessing angelic energies, angels, one thing you're always going to feel is a sense of compassion, this complete and utter lack of judgment, right? Angels are very non judgmental beings. True angelic counsel is completely uplifting, um, not negative in any way, not judgmental in any manner, just positive and uplifting. Now, will they automatically agree with everything you say? No, certainly not. They're not sycophantic, but they're not negative either, and they're not judgmental. So, what message do angels bring from the realms of light here to earth? Well, they bring messages of the highest vibration, the greatest love and light. What angels want to do, because this is part of the divine plan, is to aid us in raising the vibration of our planet. And you need a lot of positivity, a lot of love, a lot of light to do that. It would be so, so beneficial to see as the angels see in this kind, compassionate way. I don't know if you all know of an Irish mystic named Lorna Byrne, but I like her a lot. She's written a number of books. She has a good website. And from the time she was a child, she's been able to see angels. And she just describes them in the most beautiful way, in a way that really resonates with me. She can also see human souls, and she finds uh, individual souls to be very beautiful, light filled, unique. Um, and then angelic souls are something even greater, even bigger, even more awe inspiring. And I think a lot of times the way she describes these angels as being so big and so colorful and so positive, just as I said, is I think in alignment with how angels appear to me. Um, but throughout time and history, people have seen angels in a number of different ways, right? Today, nowadays, in the West, there's this image of the angel. It's very traditional, you often see white robes, large feathery wings, perhaps a halo. We'll see this image around a great deal Christmas time, but there are many other ways that angels may look. Um, they may look much more ordinary. They may look much more ethereal. They may look more really just like light. Um, you don't know. I'm sure we all see angels a little bit differently. Um, and angels not only appear different from us here on earth, they bring in and work with different energies, right? They're bringing in the highest vibration possible, the vibration of heaven, of the celestial realms, bringing in all this love, this light, peace, and compassion. They're not working with the energy of fear, doubt, conflict, negativity that we have so much here on earth. Angels don't work with those energies at all. They're not real. They're illusions of this realm. But they do still have a tremendous amount of understanding and compassion for the fact that those energies are present on earth and they need to be transmuted. Angels also, in my experience, have a very beautiful, uh, very different communication style from what we have on earth. It's so much more multifaceted. Here we communicate with language, maybe some body language, thrown in. Sometimes we communicate with writing. Again, maybe there's some illustrations thrown in there, but that's about it. That's about all we have right now for much communication on Earth. But in the angelic realms, you can use language too, but they also have so much more, right? They have access to thoughts, to emotions. They also have access to a great deal of other information if they're communicating with you because they can read vibrations, energies. So they can get a read for the vibration of your physical body. You know, if you have some sort of imbalance, something going on physically, and that's affecting your thoughts, your moods, your emotions, angels can pick up on that. Angels can tune into the vibration of our environments. They know if the water you're drinking has a touch of heavy metals, or if you've got an area with a lot of electromagnetic stress, or so on and so forth. Angels can read that sort of information. They also have a very complete view of time, right? They have when they're communicating with someone, an understanding of your past experiences, perhaps your past traumas, how that is informing your current behavior. This is so multidimensional, this amount of knowledge, of communication, that it really makes for a great deal more compassion, a great deal more understanding, and much clearer communication than what we can have on Earth. And that's a beautiful thing, truly. So, despite all these differences, angels can help us tremendously, I feel, here in the physical realms. In fact, it's part of their divine task to travel between heaven and earth to bring divine aid and higher energies. And, you know, angels can really help us on a small scale with everyday things in our lives, on a grand scale, on a global scale, in many areas. But there were a few things, a few practices I wanted to touch on tonight because I feel like they're very accessible ways to ask for angelic aid. And these are areas where the angels really want to help us. So, shortly here, there's going to be a slide with these listed, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention um, that angels can help us with manifestation. Now, the angels understand that we have physical forms, that we have physical requirements, in terms of food, rest, shelter, so on and so forth. And they also want us to bring heaven to earth, right? To raise earth's vibration. So they know sometimes we might need to manifest other things, perhaps tools, perhaps, networking connections, something like that. And the angels are readily available to aid us with manifesting things like this that can aid our success on earth, our success in a spiritual sense rather than a physical sense. So, a very simple method of manifestation that's simple but still effective and not necessarily easy is one I wanted to talk with you all about. It draws a little bit from Shakti Gawain's creative visualization, which is kind of an older book that I bet you all have read. Um, but basically, for this manifestation, you think about connecting, right? That's a good thing to do at the beginning of any spiritual practice. Make sure you're connected to spirit, to the divine. You can invite in angelic aid. And then comes a process of creative visualization, really, where you're picturing in as much detail as possible what it is you want to manifest. You see it happening to you, again, in detail, using as many of your senses as possible. And you really want some emotion in there too, how you would feel if you had, whatever, this networking connection, this tool, this, whatever it is you want to manifest. And spend some time visualizing that. And then give it over to God and the angels. Here's the tricky part, at least this is the trickiest part for me, is you need to let go of attachment to the outcome. And that's not easy, right? Because you do get kind of caught up in, oh, I really want this. And then you kind of get caught up in worry, oh, what happens if I don't get this? But those are not the energies you need for manifestation. That will just hinder you, right? Because once you start focusing on that, you're focusing on things like fear and doubt. You're focusing on things like lack. And again, that's hindering the manifestation process. So, what you have to do is try not to be attached to the outcome, right? Be thinking things like this or something better will come to me if it's for the greatest good of my soul. And that's it. You just trust from there. So, that's a pretty straightforward manifestation practice that I still use that I think works well. The angels can also be invited into your healing, right? Again, you can start this by connecting, inviting the angels in, and then affirm yourself as being healed. Visualize light pouring down on you, perhaps surrounding an injured area, perhaps surrounding all of you. Maybe you can see the light showering down and seeping in to every pore, every cell. And then again, letting go and letting God. It's very simple, but it is helpful. It's helpful to invite in that light. You can spend a short amount of time, a long amount of time, really, whatever amount of time you have to spend working on that healing. And the third area where angels can powerfully aid us that I wanted to talk about briefly is protection. I think they do have a lot of protective abilities for us here on earth. Of course, the Christian tradition talks about guardian angels, and we see rather similar beings showing up in other areas as well, aside from Christianity. I do believe we all have a protective angel with us. We can talk to them directly if you want to. Angels in general are very helpful with protecting us on earth. Now, as a disclaimer, this is not meant to be, none of these practices are meant to be a substitute for, medical, legal, or other aid in the earthly realms. But you can pray protection over yourself, over your loved ones, over your possessions, over our planet as a whole, and see the beautiful angelic presence aiding us. It's always there. So, those are some practices where you're essentially asking the angels to, quote, do something, right? But a lot of times I like to just be with the angels in a bit more of a meditative way. Mary, if you wouldn't mind switching the slide, thank you kindly. So, one way that I really like to connect with angels, which I think is coming up on this next slide sometime, which hopefully I included, has to do with connecting with them through their names. Now it was funny, when I was young, I was raised Catholic, so I learned a certain number of prayers to say as a child. I grew older. Um, Went to college when I was a young adult. I went through this phase where I really liked to memorize, these pretty long prayers. I spent some time memorizing them. I like to say them regularly in my spiritual practices. And then, my life went on. I had family, kids, and all of a sudden I really wanted the shortest prayers imaginable. and I'm still kind of there. And so I really developed a great appreciation for some shorter prayers. And one of the shortest and easiest ways I have found to connect with angelic energy is by saying the names of some angels. So I have the three angels that are mentioned by name in the Bible here. Many other writers over the years have connected with and written about other angels. And it's, pretty easy to come across angelic names online, through oracle decks and whatnot. And they'll often have all these beautiful angelic names, and often the meanings of these names. And even just saying the names are very, very powerful means of connection, right? We have Michael, Gabriel, Raphael listed here. And a lot of times when I'm trying to say the angelic names to connect, I like to focus a bit on the L ending, right? Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and that L ending means shining or of God, right? It's a giveaway that this is an angelic name. And if you want to take it a step further even than just saying the name, you can think of the meaning of the name and you can just sit with that, you can just stay sitting with Michael, he who is like God, and just sit with that. Maybe repeat it over and over, almost like a chant. And you'll get a lovely connection with that energy. So here, we list Gabriel, which means strength of God, Raphael, which means God heals or God has healed. And there are many other angelic names you can use. I like using Uriel, Zadkiel, Yophiel. But again, many other lists are readily available, complete with the meanings of their names. And I just find sitting with those beautiful angelic words, that heavenly meaning, just sitting and meditating there will bring you to a beautiful place of connectedness and peace. So that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about doing angel topics for CCWH here. And we're going to continue on a little bit with the chapel, but afterwards, I would certainly love to hear other people's thoughts on angels, on how they connect with them or see them, perhaps even experiences you all have had with them, because they are special. They're here to help. They're all around. They're ever with us. So thank you. Thank you to Mary for inviting me. And CCWH is a nonprofit organization run completely by volunteers. If you did enjoy the program, or if you do feel so called to donate, you can do so on our website via PayPal. On our website is ccwh.com. And we end our chapels with the Let There Be Peace on Earth, a lovely song, with a lovely meaning.